Hey everybody, it's Kellen Nitro from Nitromaniac TV, and tonight was No Mercy. That's right. From the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, a advertised sellout crowd of 16,103, 106, give or take a couple of people, witnessed a night of wrestling action from WWE's Raw brand, and this is my take on No Mercy 2017. First off, pre-show match, Elias defeated Apollo Cruz with the Titus brand at ringside, Titus O'Neil. And the Titus brand, I really like that gimmick. I really like that angle. The problem is they need a real bone-cutting, no-nonsense, mid-card face wrestler, if it's a face stable. It's gotta have a face wrestler in there that just wins matches. That's it. Because unfortunately, Apollo isn't really getting it done right now at this point. They almost need a Jason Jordan. That's just my opinion of the matter. Is they need a Jason Jordan in with Titus and Apollo and Akira Tozawa, because unfortunately, as you'll hear later on, the cruiserweight thing that's on shaky ground. So you might want to look at a more long-term thing. Unfortunately, Jason Jordan's of course wrapped up with this Kurt Angle storyline. So they may have to look elsewhere for that. But that's what they need, is just a real, no-nonsense, I guess, game-winning marquee player in that Titus brand thing. So Elias gets a win. He's going forward, doing the thing, getting over with the fans with the songs finally and that stuff. Would love to see El Vagabondo come back, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it's, good for him. I saw him in person at the NXT Orlando show back in April, and it was his last NXT appearance, and a lot of people were like, well, what's going on? So we'll see what happens. Also, a couple of things out of the pre-show. One is Asuka will be making her Raw debut October 22nd at the next Raw brand pay-per-view, which is TLC. Good to bring her in on that big of stage. I think she deserves it. I hope they keep acknowledging the streak, because the undefeated streak is a big deal. I think I think WWE will be acknowledging it. Just simply because she's just going from one brand to another. Now, what opponent would you put in there with her is the huge question. I would put Emma in with her if it's a non-title situation, just because her and Emma had that fantastic match at NXT TakeOver London, and I think he'd be able to recreate that no problem. If it's a title situation, her and Alexa could probably tear down the house as well. But if you don't want to put her in a title situation right away, it's safe enough to go ahead and go forward with it. To open up the main pay-per-view, we had the Intercontinental title match, The Miz versus Jason Jordan, in a entertaining 15-minute affair. The Miz retains the Intercontinental title. Jordan, man, he's just starting his singles run on Raw. The thing that could probably stop it dead, though, is this angle with Kurt Angle. The fans in attendance in Los Angeles almost heeled on him, or turned him heel just for the night, I guess. Well, they were booing him. It's not necessarily a full-blown term, but they weren't having any of Jordan's antics in the ring or anything during that match, unfortunately. So I don't know if this is a scrap heap, if this is the major scrap heap angle of the year, where we look back on in 10 years and the Wrestle Crap guys look back on it and say, hey, remember when? I wouldn't be surprised. If they salvage this and there's something worthwhile that comes out of it, I wouldn't be surprised about it either, because WWE has a recent track record of doing that as well too. So it's all on creative where they want to take this and where they wish to go with Jason Jordan. But right now, it's delicate ground for him. Very delicate ground. Miz, though, puts on an amazing match every time. Great heel champion. IC belt still looks good on him, and we carry on with that. Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt was up next in a man versus man contest, in which you can argue, isn't every singles match a man versus man? Or woman versus woman? Sometimes on the indies it's man versus woman. Sometimes on the indies it's man versus bear. You don't know. But they both come out, and Balor didn't even have the rock and roller apparel on tonight. The leather jacket with the Balor Club thing and that stuff. It was gray and white. It was a different motif for him. Almost reminiscent of, I want to say, some of his New Japan stuff. Maybe a little bit, not so much early on, but about mid-run there. With the off colors and that stuff. It was gray and white. And the music was edited a little differently as well. It didn't have the real the build-up intro to it tonight. It just went right into the da 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 da, like it was like a last-minute edit or something. The match itself was passable for a Monday night television show. A lot of this show tonight, I found, was very passable, would make a very passable Monday Night Raw. The problem is you have pay-per-view time, and you still have people out there that shell $50 to $60 a pop for this product. And I don't think that tonight's show was $49.99 or whatever the pay-per-view price is now for those who do not buy the network at all. So, passable match. Balor wins. Are we done with this? Tag team titles up next. We had The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro versus, I'm not calling them the Shield, but Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in the ring. The match itself kind of started off with a very malicious intent with the team of Sheamus and Cesaro working on Dean Ambrose's shoulder on the outside. Cesaro did the giant swing to Ambrose, and Ambrose sold it very well throughout the first quarter of the match or so. Kind of gave that roughhouse vibe to it, too. It was like, well, to me, talking to a lot of people, it kind of gave that kind of unpredictable, almost an ECW vibe to it, to just a, like a straight tag match that they used to have with no weapons or anything like that, where it was just, okay, anything can happen here, right? Give you that uneasiness watching it. And then the move happened, and you've seen gifs of it already online. If not, Cesaro ends up chipping, if not breaking, 4 of his teeth along the top after going headfirst into the ring post. And that was, I've seen injuries in hockey that are very similar like that, where a guy takes a puck in the teeth and that stuff. That was pretty ugly. That itself will be on probably a lot of gore websites and stuff. Missing teeth is always fun. I tweeted, somebody better get the milk at ringside, because I hear that's the old wives' tale, is if you get a tooth knocked out, you gotta throw it in the thing of like 2% milk or something like that right away, and then rush right to the dentist to get it replaced. That way it saves the nutrients in the teeth and that stuff, and it's still a living bone, I guess. The match itself, the rest of the match was, again, that real roughhouse style, real, not so much strong style tag team, but just kind of more, like a late 90s straight up ECW tag team match, which was, I found, really entertaining, really great. And Sheamus and Cesaro have a mix-up in the finish, and Ambrose and Rollins retain the tag team titles going forward. So now we have the old dissension between Sheamus and Cesaro. Is it going to rear its ugly head or not? And also, how long can this quote-unquote miracle run with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins last? Last time I looked, there wasn't really a lot of tag teams now on Raw that are notable. I think he might have Slater and Rhino. But other than that, I'm trying to think of some that might even come to mind. I got nothing right now, so who knows? I think maybe we get one more match out of these guys for a trilogy, and then we'll see what happens. But one team's going to split here. You kind of get that feeling. You just don't know which team it is. Women's 5-way, Nia Jax is a freaking all-star. She was woman of that match all over the place. She carried that damn thing. And, man, the bump she took on the outside where it was the power bomb and she just crumpled was very reminiscent of Mick Foley, of bumps similarly in WCW and ECW back in the day. She just crumpled dead on the outside when she hit, and everybody thought she landed on her neck and everything. And man, you know, great match, great sequence. Tempo was great throughout it. Kept the tempo up. The fans were up, you know, cheering and everything, and probably at home too, up and cheering, watching this thing. Bliss retains, which is, I think, an okay thing. Like I said, you got Asuka coming in next month. If they got that option now where they can pair her right away with the champion. If not, then I don't know who you'll get to pair Bliss with. I know on Raw Talk she's talking some smack about Mickie James, so maybe that's the matchup for October for the title. Is Mickie James versus Alexa Bliss, which has happened over on SmackDown, was a very passable TV match then. It is that dead time of year where we don't really expect to see the real mind-blowing matches. However, the quality of the matches I've noticed over the past couple of years or so have improved. 2013, 2014, it was a real dead time of year where you didn't expect anything to happen. And 2015 as well. But over 2016 and a little bit this year too, you notice that, okay, the matches are starting to heat up a little bit. And like last year, we had the real historic Hell in a Cell with the women. We had the Goldberg-Lesnar main event at Survivor Series, which was, you know, unexpected at least. And man, so it's heating up. It's not as dead of a time of year as it used to be, but it's still kind of snoozy. We'll put it that way. John Cena versus Roman Reigns on a B pay-per-view in September. See my previous thought. It blew my mind early on with the entrances that John Cena got a huge pop from the Los Angeles crowd gathered for No Mercy tonight. It was almost reminiscent of 05-06 John Cena, where he was the smiling babyface that everybody loved at that point, coming over from SmackDown to Raw. So, I think that John really kind of played to the crowd like that. I think Roman came out and played the perfect heel throughout that match. His heel demeanors, when he does roll that out, is very reminiscent of a Kevin Nash from 95 or 96. Like, it's almost uncanny what they're doing with him. I almost wonder if he's watching old Diesel tapes or something, because just the mannerisms, not so much the moves, but just the cool walk and the too cool for school attitude and everything like that. Like, it's just on a smaller scale, but there's some Diesel influence in there, some Kevin Nash influence. So I wouldn't be surprised, knowing who the hierarchy is now at the time of this recording for WWE and who puts everything together and everything. But it's just, and some of the influences as well. But it's absolutely, the past couple times, been the right decision with him. The crowd, I think, was the most mind-blowing thing for me tonight. They were 100% behind Cena. How often does that happen, right? Reigns gets the win, and at the end of the night, Cena takes a while in the ring, kind of bows to the crowd and slowly walks off. And it's almost as if you get the vibe that, hey, wait a second, this is his last match or something, right? He goes on to Raw Talk later on after the pay-per-view, and it's a great episode of Raw Talk. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, a lot of stuff goes down on it that I'm going to reference here, but you get a chance to watch it and you can see for yourself. The interview with Cena that Renee Young does is very eye-opening, and it's almost a jaw-dropping thing where I don't think he wants to admit that he's a part-timer now, after everything that he had said, especially leading up with the feud with The Rock and everything. But he's a part-timer now. So it's like, okay, it's a little bit of him eating his words a little bit and such. But it's a man trying to grasp that at 40 years old, he might not have, the same, gusto to him as he had when he was 30. So it's a great interview. I really recommend you guys checking it out. It was on Raw Talk after No Mercy if you have the network. Okay, Cruiserweight title, Enzo Amore defeats Neville, and I believe that the issues with 205 Live continue to manifest itself. The finish of this match was Enzo Amore kicking Neville below the belt and getting a quick roll up for a 1-2-3. And that does not bode well, as that's a face doing that to a heel. Heel doing that to a face is no problem, but that just leaves a weird taste in your mouth. And the whole fact of the matter of the question of 205 Live, what they're going to do with it and that stuff, because it seems to be stagnant and just at this point in the game, not a lot of people knowing its future on the network or in its immediate future, what they're going to do with the Cruiserweight division. It's very concerning. And then what's really real concerning is the Raw Talk interview that Enzo did after the pay-per-view. And again, watch that. But I thought, in my opinion, he put down the entire division. Just the dude became the champion of the division, and now he is just putting down the entire division and being there. When he goes out there and he says on Raw Talk that he essentially, lack of a better term, and pardon the pun, poo-pooed getting down to the 205 weight class. It's or getting down to below 205, I guess, to wrestle or to fight in this match. It kind of puts down everything that this division was striving towards and that stuff. So we'll wait and see how long Enzo will remain champion. Is it a main roster rub? Is it a quick decision because of Cass's injury that he's doing this? Remains to be seen. But not a great start, in my opinion. 40 minutes in or 80 minutes into his championship reign. And of course, the main event, the Hoss fight between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, delivered entirely. That was, I wouldn't change a thing about that. You know what? Not even the finish. I'll go ahead and say it. I think the finish made, not 100% sense, but if it was a last minute change or whatever, I think it works better with Brock moving forward, and he was going to get the win over Strowman anyway. If there was a rematch between the two of them, that would have, with a no contest tonight and then a rematch later on down the road at like TLC or something, Brock was going to get the win anyway. This way, you take a look at it, if the rumored WrestleMania main event for next year in New Orleans is Reigns versus Lesnar, both guys have beaten Strowman now at this point, so they can put that as a comparison. Both guys have beaten Cena now at this point. You can put that as a comparison. And so on and so forth. So I thought for the guys in the ring and for what they were dealing with and the live crowd, I thought it was a great match. I will give No Mercy 2017 a 7 out of 10. I thought, again, it was a really good episode of Monday Night Raw. The problem is it being a network special / pay-per-view. It needs to offer a little bit more, even though it's a B pay-per-view. Even though it's just the generic monthly selection or whatever. So, alright folks, I'm Kellen Nitro. Not a whole lot else to say, kind of rambling on at this point anyway. So, we'll catch you next time on Nitromaniac TV. Feel free to pass the video around, subscribe if you can, and catch me on Twitter at Kellen Nitro if you agree, disagree, or whatever. Happy wrestling watching, and later days, folks.